All right. What is up, fellas? We got it. Jacksonville and Cincinnati. Jacksonville is a 10-point favorite at home. Should be an interesting one. Had a big week for the best ball teams. I don't know about you, but I had a nice little
I didn't look.
spike up in my advance rate, which felt pretty good this week, given the Devon Achane return to injury from injury. He helped spike that up. A lot of the other guys that I have highly rostered, Sam Laporta is one of my highest roster tight ends. He had a monster game, obviously. Couple good ones. Brock Purdy and Dak, two of my highest rostered quarterbacks, had great games. So that definitely helps out the squad a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's not really much to add there.
Yeah, at one point in the slate of games, I think my best ball teams, it's down to 950 again. I was up to 1100
Jeez.
winnings, which is advancing. 1100 divided by 25 would be 44 of my 150 teams were advancing at one point, which is pretty good. And I guess 950 is what, 37 of my teams? 38 of my teams.
What would average be like 25 then?
Average would be
29, 27.
16 times 150 be 24.
Oh, right. 16%, not 18%. My bad.
Yeah, 24 would
that
be
makes
the
sense.
was Bobcat coming out with the side note? Have y'all seen the GTA 6 trailer? Okay, so quick side tangent. I don't know if you guys ever played the game Bully growing up. It's like one of my favorite video games ever.
Oh, that shit was lit.
It was such a good game, dude. And they never made a sequel to it, even though it was rumored for like 15 years, basically. And it sounds like it's been in production before, and then they canned it. And then it was in production again, and then they canned it. And I'm waiting for the day that game came out in 2006, and then they remastered it for Xbox 360 in 2010 and PC and PS3 or whatever. And I wanted to play a sequel. I've been waiting for a sequel since 2006 because I've beaten the game like 35 times. I know the game inside and out. It's literally my favorite game probably of all time, and it has not had a sequel. Like there's full on YouTube channels. There's a YouTuber named Swagta who's literally a fucking bully YouTuber, and he's had no new content to work with since 2006, and he somehow still has a relevant YouTube channel, which is
I was just gonna say the amount of times I've just watched like a Let's Play series on like a game like that has been fucking insane.
He's probably done all of those for Bully, 100%.
And like different
Everyone
like ways to play it.
Probably him.
Yeah. No, that's actually hilarious.
But GTA 6 should be dope. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little bit bored of the video game atmosphere right now. Because I play League of Legends sometimes, but that's pretty much the only game I play right now. Because the battle royale games all got really boring, right? Apex and Fortnite and those type of games, they're just not fun anymore. So I need like a game that I can play with my buddies that's fun. And GTA 6 online would 100% be that game.
Oh, 100%. I still remember. I might actually still have GTA 5 downloaded on my PC because we'd always do like the role play things, so that was fun. Yeah, facts,
dude. Yeah, shoving the kids in the trash cans is classic, man. That was a great game. I mean, low key, like not a very good message to people, but like it was like the plot of the game was more about fighting bullying than it was actually being a bully. So I mean, that's people just see the name of the game and they're like, oh, it's a bad game to teach kids. It probably is, but.
Dude, what game isn't though? Realistically, if your kid gets easily influenced by the game, that's more a reflection on you than the game.
Yeah, exactly. Viper says I need Ridley to put up 19 PPR to win my matchup. Wish me good luck. Yeah, that's a pretty high ceiling game out of Ridley. So I'd say I'd put you at like a 20% chance that probably happens. It's good matchup here for Ridley, but I'm a little nervous about that one.
I would say more like 30, 35. I don't think it's that.
You think he's 30% chance to get to a 19 PPR point per game? Yeah. I mean, maybe if you have like any kind of bonuses, like big plays or, that kind of stuff, I would say in my home league, like 19 PPR would be like a 40% chance, 35% chance probably.
Well, if you think about it in a full PPR, that's 6 for 70 and a touchdown. Like that's pretty doable.
Yeah, no, it's doable for sure. He's had a couple of good games in a row, so I feel like he's due for a stinker.
Yeah, makes sense.
Dan says, down 36, I got Travis and Trevor. Think they can do it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Travis and Trevor should be able to get that done for you. The game is a 41-point over-under, and the Jags, I believe, would be combined they're at 10-point favorite in a 41-point over-under game, so they're implied, like 24 points or something like that?
Wait, 10-point favorite in a what over-under?
41.
20.5. Wait. Yeah.
So
I mean, if you're
we have the
31,
information. I might as well just look
15.5,
at it.
25.5 implied points.
Yeah, 25.5. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you should be good there. All the scoring goes through those two guys. Which dynasty running back is worth pushing all the chips in for? Not named McCaffrey, who's untouchable and who's probably on a contender already.
So if you're buying cheap points,
I mean,
is how I
Travis
read
Etienne
this.
is a guy that I think is a great option to go and trade for if you're pushing for a championship, because he's going to be relevant for 2 more years after this year. So I don't feel as bad about giving up, say, a first, a second, and a young receiver for Travis Etienne plus like a small other contending piece back. So that's why I like Etienne as a good option. I also don't mind going and buying low on Kenneth Walker potentially, just because he sounds like he's going to be back this week and he can maybe give you low end RB1 production rest of the season. And you might be able to get him for like a singular first right now.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that as well. If you're trying to buy cheap points, I think guys like, I mean,
Tyron Williams, we talked about on the live stream this morning, makes a lot of sense as a guy that you might want to go after. I like personally for me, I'm not the type of person to go and trade for Alvin Kamara or to go and trade for,
I don't mind that for the price.
Austin Eckler or somebody. Like I would rather trade for a 90 cents production wise on the dollar guy that's going to be relevant for 2 to 3 more years at the running back position, just because most of the time, and maybe your league is a little bit different, you buy a guy like Austin Eckler and he's going to be worthless in leagues that I play in after this year is over.
It really all depends on your buying market. If those guys are cheap, like if a Kamara's
Jacobs
like a late,
makes a lot of sense for a guy to push the chips in as well, because he's probably going to be relevant for another year or two, most likely. Even if the Raiders don't re-sign him, he should be a good option in free agency for another team.
Yeah, no fair.
I don't know about you. Do you think it's more likely we see some big named offensive stars hit free agency this year? Because like, I mean, T Higgins
is a free agent other than T.
T Higgins, Brandon Ayuk's actually, I think he's
got a year left. No,
first round pick, so he probably has a 5th year option. No,
yeah, he's got a 5th year, but they've been rumored to potentially move him, which give him the bag, man. Like if you're San Francisco, if you remove Brandon Ayuk from that offense, guess what? You don't have the Avengers assembled. I guess you can make the argument if Purdy's really that guy, he should be able to produce with that offense sans Brandon Ayuk, but like why interrupt a great thing? Like worst case scenario,
the
you have to.
Cap is fake. I don't care what anybody says; it's fake. You can get everybody back when you need to.
But even if you're trying to cut costs on that team, cut it from defense. Because guess what? Yes, you have an elite defense right now, but even an average defense for San Fran, dude, like they're putting up 30, 35 a game. They can win shootouts. And like we've seen in the NFL this year, especially in the NFC in particular, you don't win games from an elite defense. Even the best defenses in the league have gotten shredded on occasion. However, the teams that are winning games for the most part, we're seeing the Cowboys are winning games because of their offense. We're seeing the Eagles are winning games because of their offense. Yes, the 49ers, in my opinion, are the best team in the NFL because they do it in both ways. But the majority of their success has come from that offense, in my opinion.
Yeah. So speaking of free agents that like could make a big impact in terms of what they could do on the open market, I care to guess how many of the current RB1s are free agents after this year?
Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm just looking at the rankings,
and there's actually one more that could be a free agent as well, given his contract.
How many years does Swift have left?
Swift is a free agent after this year, so that's 2.
Okay. Saquon's obviously on that 1 year.
He's not currently an RB1, but yes, he is.
RB1, right? Jacobs.
Yeah, Jacobs also too.
There's one more?
There is 2 more.
Really?
Yeah.
That's currently an RB1 in fantasy.
Yeah.
Point per game or overall?
Point per game. The one guy's averaging 15.6 points per game, and the other guy's averaging 18.4 points per game.
18.4. So we're talking about a needle mover right now. Kamara?
Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert, that makes sense.
Sorry, Raheem Mostert is not a free agent. Why did I just see his name? Am I baked? Never mind. Raheem Mostert is not a free agent. The Kamara is the one that I was referring to that could be a free agent because his contract situation is bad. Mm-hmm. Austin Eckler is the other one who is
Austin Eckler, right?
And Derrick Henry also not currently an RB1, but he is a free agent as well. So we got Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler, and DeAndre Swift, all free agents at the running back position after this year. Now, some of those guys, maybe they get franchise tagged, whatever. I don't think Pollard, Jacobs, or Saquon will get franchise tagged the second time. I don't know if you're actually even allowed to do that, but Derrick Henry might get franchise tagged. We don't know. Austin Eckler might be back with the Chargers. We have no idea. I don't think any of these guys really have huge markets, right? Like if Derrick Henry hits free agency or Austin Eckler hits free agency, nobody's beating down the door to give these guys 12, 14 million a year.
I mean, no, exactly. I don't think I think the running back market may be at an all-time low out like this offseason, to be honest. Because outside of Christian McCaffrey, who's really put on like a bunch of value over replacement at that position this year?
Yeah, not a whole lot of guys. And at the wide receiver position, I mean, T Higgins is a free agent. We know that. He's probably going to get the franchise tag if I had to guess. I don't think he's going to hit the free agency market. Even like if I was Cincinnati and I didn't intend on paying him, I'm tag and trading him. Like there's no way I would actually let him hit free agency. Because you should get at least a second round pick for him in a trade.
By the way, my apologies, Brandon. I'm just seeing this now. Hey guys, trade deadline tomorrow. Trade away Devontae Smith for Laporta and JSN. Current team is Josh Allen, Bijan, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Lamb, Tucker Kraft, and Devontae Smith. I think you can make the argument that Laporta and Devontae Smith are very similar in terms of projection. Like Devontae Smith, if you were to redraft right now, would probably be in the second round area. Again, we're touching our rest of season rankings, which will be done tomorrow. Sam Laporta, I think you can argue as a tight end one rest of the season. So if you need a tight end, I love JSN's outlook moving forward. 11 targets in that game against the Cowboys. I don't mind making this move, especially given your strength at wide receiver.
Some ups. I feel like Brandon asked us about this trade already or something similar to it where he'd be getting Laporta. But yeah, I actually really like that move. And then real quick, and then we can move on. Wide receiver free agents that are interesting and would be fantasy relevant with their new teams. T Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Marquise Brown, Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, which I don't think he'll go anywhere, but it's possible. Curtis Samuel's semi-interesting, I suppose, as well. And then also there was one more, Gabriel Davis, too. Semi-interesting as well. So, I mean, there's some guys. It's definitely better free agent class than last year.
Yeah.
And I think actually some of those guys will hit free agency. Like, I could see Calvin Ridley hitting free agency. I could see Marquise Brown hitting free agency. I don't think they're like locked and loaded going back to the teams that they're with. If I was Jacksonville, I'd re-sign Calvin Ridley. And if I was Arizona, I would re-sign Marquise Brown. But you never know.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. So we left off here, I believe.
Yeah,
moving
Brock
forward,
there.
full PPR flex, Brandon Cooks, JSN or Downs.
They're all probably relatively
similar.
comparable options. I would say Downs is my favorite of that group, but then Cooks and JSN would probably be pretty close behind.
This is very close for me. So I'm looking at, like, again, I've been touching on the rest of season rankings. Gonna wait obviously until tonight to see. But as I have it slated right now, I have JSN the highest actually at 33, Downs at 35, Cooks at 37. So like they're all like wide receiver 3 types, I would say. The reason why I levitate towards JSN is because I think he's got the ceiling to be able to become the number one target on that offense from a target standpoint. So that's why I lean that upside. But at the end of the day, they're all pretty clean projections.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think. Also, you said levitate towards JSN, not gravitate, which I thought was funny. But yeah, you said you'd levitate towards JSN, which I thought was kind of funny. But anyways,
my bad.
Josh Downs to me is the one guy that has a secured role week in and week out with his offense. Cooks has been a little bit more up and down, a little bit like a fluctuation with his role. And then JSN, same thing. Like JSN's probably the highest upside option given what, he represented coming out of school and kind of how he's turned it around in the recent games. But I prefer Downs still at this point.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Again, they're literally all separated by 4 ranks as I have them right now. Looking to find a good streaming quarterback for this upcoming weekend with Kyler Murray on a bye week. I'm not going to lie. I have not looked towards the matchups next week.
I will look right now who has the best matchups. So best matchups in order, Los Angeles Chargers. So Justin Herbert, he's probably rostered. Falcons, no way I'm going Desmond Ritter. CJ Stroud, probably rostered. Jalen Hurts, probably rostered. As far as streaming quarterbacks, Will Levis, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, and maybe Justin Fields is not rostered or Matthew Stafford isn't rostered. Those guys would be the best options. I say of the guys that I just mentioned, the one that I like the most probably. Sorry, I'm actually reading this backwards. That was the opponent that I was reading, not the actual team. Denver Broncos play the Chargers. That is the easiest matchup. So Russell Wilson, definitely a great option. Baker Mayfield, also definitely a great option. And then the other one that I was going to say was Gardner Minshew. Sorry, ignore what I said before. Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew. Those are the types of guys that I would go after if they were available in my league.
Yeah, no, I don't mind that.
What's up, fellas? Sitting at 11-2, thanks to you guys. Well, good for you, Johnny. With that, that is Dallas defense droppable with their remaining schedule. If like the
But
Rams defense, like a defense that has like a bunch of really good matchups were available, I probably would consider it. But at the same time, like I don't really want to drop the Dallas defense because I mean, you're playing Josh Allen, who's a little bit like turnover prone. Like I think the defense is good enough that you could probably play them regardless of matchup. But if you want to gravitate towards, not levitate, a defense that is playing like really bad quarterbacks, like I don't hate dropping the Dallas defense, to be honest.
yeah, no,
I'm
I
not
don't
really
hate that
married to
either.
defenses, to be honest. Like I think a lot of people like they're like, oh, I can't drop the Dallas defense because somebody else will pick them up. But it's like if you didn't want to play them because they had a bad remaining schedule, then why did you drop them?
Yeah, no, I agree. Real quick on that, by the way, with the Cowboys, obviously the schedule upcoming is definitely a daunting task. You got the Eagles, you got the Bills, and you got the Dolphins, and of course, in fantasy playoff week, fantasy championship week, you got the Lions. So if you have a better option, I actually don't hate that at all because I
No,
do think
it's
all those
not a
games are
good
going to be high
matchup
scoring.
at all for the Cowboys defense for sure.
Yeah,
It's great for their offense, but it's not. But like at the same time, sometimes that's good for the defense as well because you get turnovers and that kind of thing. Who's your wide receiver 3 in 2024? Odunze?
as of now.
Um, I would say I honestly like I can't answer this question because I haven't done the adequate research on
Well,
these wide
that's why I
receiver
say as for
prospects to be
now.
able to answer this. It's pretty undeniable what Odunze has done this year from a
He's
production
good,
standpoint.
man.
He has really taken a step forward from what I saw from because I actually scouted him for a couple games last year for BDG's draft guide because I did the write-ups before the declare date. So
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be in the class and I saw like a guy, I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty talented. He could be like a round 3 wide receiver or something like that. And then what I've seen from him this year is like he's just kind of taken the whole next step and
Yeah.
he's big, he's physical, he can run routes,
Oh
he can
yeah.
win at the catch point. He can pretty much do everything. And those types of wide receivers we've seen historically the last couple of years, they
Well,
don't miss. They're not the type of
well,
receivers that miss. You miss on, Quentin Johnston types that are like big, you know, raw wide receivers. You don't miss on guys like Romo Dunze who know exactly how to play the position. So as of right now, it would be between Romo Dunze and Xavier Worthy. I can't put Keon Coleman up there because he's kind of the Quentin Johnston mold of maybe he
freaky
misses kind of
athlete.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also I
Troy
feel like I'm forgetting
Franklin.
somebody. And Emeka Egbuka right now would
Troy
be
Franklin.
also in that mix. I would like to see Egbuka test because I'm curious what he's going to actually test as. And I would prefer to see him healthy for the bowl game. I don't know if he's actually going to do that or not. If he's just going to sit out the bowl game and declare for the
They
draft
play
or whatever.
Mizzou,
But,
right? They
huh?
play Mizzou. I think Ohio State plays Mizzou.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's a 3-horse race between Odunze, Xavier Worthy, and Emeka Egbuka for me. As of right now, I would lean Odunze, but I think any one of those guys could end up being wide receiver 3.
Yeah, I mean, real quick on Odunze, it's kind of just he looks so professional from what I've seen thus far.
Yeah.
Again, like you guys will hear more.
I would have
We'll
said that
literally
about
do case
Egbuka
studies.
last year, though, too, from his sophomore film.
Fair. Again, we'll go through it all with actual film breakdowns, but kind of get like Michael Pittman-y vibes when I've watched him so far. Like when I watch Washington play again.
Pittman's a good one. I've heard people say Keenan Allen, which I don't really see when I
I don't
watch
think
him. Like I think the size profile is the same as
I
Keenan
don't think
Allen.
he's that
But
type
I
of
see more of
separator,
like a
though.
Pittman type of receiver
Yeah.
or like an Allen Robinson type of receiver
Yeah.
when I watch
That's a
Odunze.
good one. Yeah, big frame, plays through his frame well, like at the catch
Like
point.
Alshon Jeffrey-ish kind of too, but like probably a
I
better
think he
route
separates
runner.
better than that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he separates better than Jeffrey. I think Pittman, Allen Robinson's kind of like the nail on the head there, where he can be a really good number 1, but at the same time, it's like if he's your number 2 and you're adding him to like a Jamar Chase type, like if the Cincinnati Bengals got Romo Dunze, man, that offense would be fucking awesome. Obviously, it is
it's
now,
tough
but
because like if I had to give comps for those 3 players, like I would say let's go with Pittman for Odunze. Let's
yeah,
go with Marquise Brown / Jalen Waddle,
for
range of outcomes
Worthy.
wise for Xavier Worthy. I'm actually curious. Let me look at what I gave the comp to Egbuka
For
in
Egbuka?
the summer because I honestly don't remember who I compared him to, and I know it was somebody that like I actually really digged the comparison for, and now I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I also don't mind Cooks as a comp for Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, Cooks is not a bad one as well. I'm really trying to fucking find this because I feel like when I comped Emeka Egbuka, I was like, I love this comp for him, and now I can't remember who it was.
Damn. Yeah, I can't think off my head either. But that's fair. Bully is goated. Love some kids. Yeah, facts, Bobcat. I need Jamar McManus to get 30. What we thinking? I don't know what your kicker scoring is, but that does sound pretty high. I'm not gonna lie. I'd put you probably a 30% chance there.
Yeah, that one's tough.
Maybe 20. Yeah. Y'all selling Devontae Adams if I just missed the playoffs trade deadlines at the end of tonight's game. If you're in a dynasty league and you're not in the playoffs, sell Devontae Adams. Like,
Oh, I remember
you
who it
have
was
to.
now.
You have
Amari
to.
Cooper. Amari Cooper was the comp I had for Emeka Egbuka. That's who it was.
Yeah, stylistically, I can see that.
Yeah, like same size. Like they're big, but they're not like hulking. They both know how to run routes, but they're not like super. Like they're good athletes, but they're not great athletes. Like Egbuka's going to run in the high 4.4s probably, which is probably about what Cooper ran. I actually don't remember what he ran coming out of Alabama, but I think it was like 4.46 or 4.48 or something like that. But yeah, I think the tough thing is going to be dissecting Egbuka's film this year because he's been hurt all season.
Yeah, for sure. If you didn't make the playoffs, sell Devontae Adams. Like, obviously, don't sell him for 60 cents on the dollar, but if you can get a quality offer, like a competitive offer, sell him.
Yeah, for sure.
I need Ridley Lawrence and Gaga. Yeah, good luck with Gaga. Lady?
Yeah, I'm curious who Gaga is. I'm trying to figure out, like, is that like a kicker or something that I don't know?
Maybe Jags D.
Yeah, maybe.
Gaga.
Yeah, Jags D might be. Yeah, Jags D might be what you got there.
Gaga.
I've got Case says I'm tied. I've got Ridley and Higgins going against ETN, Dearness Johnson, and McManus. Somebody started Dearness Johnson and ETN. Final week of the regular season.
Good
Wish me luck, boys. Get better soon, Danny. Fact.
Yeah, I will try.
So I'm a little sad because I ended up playing I sat T Higgins tonight. I'm already gonna win because the guy that I played this week had like no Justin Jefferson, no Saquon Barkley, no, like, his whole team was on bye. So I already won this week. But I'm gonna be a little annoyed for points for purposes if T Higgins goes off and I played Devin Singletary and Drake London over him, who combined for like 6 points.
Pain.
But I think you're probably good on that one, Casey. If you got Ridley against ETN, I think in full PPR, I would prefer Ridley, and then Higgins versus Dearness Johnson and McManus. I think you got that.
Dearness Johnson gets me going.
Yeah. Are you guys buying into the Jaden Daniels hype? Seeing Dynasty mocks with him locked in the top 5. So if you're assuming that he goes in the first round, I don't think it's an outrageous take to say that he should be a top 5 rookie pick. I personally wouldn't take him over his teammate.
Non-tight end premium, you taking him or Bowers if he goes top 10?
If he was a first round pick, I would take him over Bowers.
I think that's where I'm at as well. We talked about it. So we actually put out the 2024 rookie mock draft, and we got some, comments like, where's Jaden Daniels? Where's Jaden Daniels? When we recorded that video, that was before like the big time, like Bruglers of the world, ESPNs of the world were having this guy in the first round of their mock. So we're working off that information. Didn't look like he was going in the first round. If he goes in the first round, all bets are off, man. Like, he's probably quarterback 3 in the class. Dual threat profile, obviously might win the Heisman this year. Could land with a team like maybe Washington, the Giants, that I trust their play calling to be able to give him fantasy success right off the get-go. If he gets drafted in the top 10, he will be a top 5 or 6 rookie pick, and I don't think there's any questions about that.
Yeah, I'm looking through just because you said ESPN, I went to Kuiper's big board right now. He still has Shedeur as the quarterback 3 in this class.
Yeah.
I think it's been all but confirmed Shedeur's going back to school. But
I mean, apparently there was a quote today that Deion Sanders was looking for like a vet backup quarterback for Shedeur next year. So if he's saying that, like, it's probably assumed that his son's going to come back with him.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably make the assumption to say Shedeur goes back to school. I'm just looking through his positional rankings. Let's see if you can guess them. Who's his quarterback 1?
Caleb.
Okay. Who's his quarterback 2?
Drake.
Yeah. After that, I just told you Shedeur was his quarterback 3. Who do you think he has quarterback 4?
Bo Nix.
No, that's quarterback 5 for him.
Penix.
No, he has Penix quarterback 8, actually.
Fair. He doesn't have JJ at 5, does he?
Maybe it's just medical, but
he doesn't have JJ, does he? I didn't think he liked him.
He has JJ at 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Does he have like Michael Pratt or something?
No, we were just talking about him. He has Jaden Daniels at 4.
Oh, and then I forgot.
He has Carson Beck above JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix.
That's nuts.
I don't love that either. Running backs is crazy, bro. Like, his running back rankings every year, Mel Kiper's running back rankings get me the crazy. Like, they're so wild. Like, hook 'em horns. He has Jonathan Brooks as his RB1
still.
I mean, maybe he hasn't updated it since the injury, but Trey Benson's his RB2. Audric Esteme's his RB3.
Yeah, I knew that.
Blake Corum is his RB4. Travion Henderson's his RB5. Bucky Irving's his RB6. Marshawn Lloyd, RB7. Donovan Edwards, RB8. Dylan Johnson, RB9, Braylon Allen, RB10. No Raheem Sanders. No, dude, this running back class can be so fucking wonky to go through, bro. Like, I honestly feel like the tunes are going to change so rapidly depending on what happens at the combine for the running back position.
Apparently, there's not a lot of buzz. Apparently, there's a lot of buzz right now that Donovan Edwards is going to come back for his senior year in Michigan.
That's wild,
which would,
bro.
I think that
I
would
could
make
see,
a ton of sense
I could see
for him.
Raheem Sanders going back to Arkansas for another year as well.
I think it would make a ton of sense for Donovan Edwards to come back. You clearly had a bad year this year. You work behind Blake Corum. You're still going to be on one of the best teams in the country. Go boost back your stock. If he goes out,
if Adonai Mitchell is the 9th best receiver in a draft class, pretty good draft class. And fucking Kuiper doesn't even have Troy Franklin in his top 10. So you add in Troy Franklin. We're talking.
Where's Lab McConkey?
He has McConkey at 10.
Okay, that's what I thought. Dude,
he has Harrison 1, Odunze 2, Coleman 3, Neighbors 4, which is outrageous, but Neighbors 4, Xavier Worthy 5, Emeka Egbuka 6, Brian Thomas Jr. 7, and then Xavier Legette, Adonai Mitchell, and Lad McConkey to close out his top 10. I mean, Troy Franklin's better than fucking Brian Thomas. Yeah. Like, I think Brian Thomas is a good prospect, and he'll probably be a day 2 pick, but Troy Franklin's definitely a better prospect than him.
McConkey's interesting from a real-life perspective. Do I think he's going to be a big fantasy contributor? No, but people kind of pigeonhole him like, oh, Lad McConkey, he's probably, this hard-working white slot receiver. Like, the guy's got fucking jets.
He's jets, bro. He's quick.
Fast.
He is a quick bastard. You watch him run, he's a fast dude.
He can play, man. He can play. I know it's a meme because of his name, but he can play.
He's a lad. Jason says, you said to hold Hollywood. Do you still feel that way? Thankfully, he has just been sitting on my bench. So should I stat? I mean, I would still hold Hollywood, but depending on the severity of his heel injury, I wouldn't be opposed to dropping him for Spears.
Yeah. I also don't mind Noah Brown for the record as well. Obviously,
I would rather hold Marquise.
I mean, with the opportunity that Tank Dell's out for the year, and he's already.
I would still rather have Marquise.
No, I agree, Marquise, but I'm saying,
but he's in a shallower league where I'm pretty sure when he asked me this the first time, I was like, don't drop Marquise Brown. Like, you're probably in a shallow league. That's why you are in the situation where you're like, should I drop Marquise Brown? But to me, I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't either. For the record, I'm just saying I think Noah Brown actually does have a good amount of utility moving forward with Tank Dell gun.
Yeah. Do we hold QJ? Probably not. If you can get any kind of second round value for Quentin Johnston, I'm taking it. I'm taking the L on the 109, 110 that I spent on him, and I'm getting the fuck out and taking a second round.
Yeah, I mean, like Quentin Johnston, how many more mistakes on fucking wide open plays do we have to see him make? Like, I don't think I've ever seen a receiver with worse hands than Quentin Johnston.
I don't think I've ever seen a first round receiver bust this quickly, this bad too. Like, this is really bad. Like, this is the worst receiver season I've seen from a first round receiver since
Jalen Reagor
or N'Keal Harry. Like, this is like really bad.
For the record, with Quentin Johnston, by the way, if you guys can maybe sell off the hype right now, he had 5 catches, 52 yards, 7 targets. Don't buy into that. Like, don't
hold Quentin Johnston. If you can cash out for, like, I could name any receiver in this class pretty much. Rashee Rice. I would rather have Jonathan Mingo at this point in time. Rashee Rice, Jonathan Mingo, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs. If you can somehow get anywhere close to those guys for Quentin Johnston, you go ahead and you do it.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Need Ridley, Trevor, and Jags defense.
There you go.
63. Oh, so it was Jags D. It wasn't
Gaga.
Was it Gaga or whatever you said?
Gaga.
63 is a lot. That's going to be a tall task, but I think you got it potentially. Up 15, got Ridley, but opponent has ETN and Chase. Ooh, this is a tough one. Up 15. 15's not a big enough lead. I'd be a little nervous if I were you. ETN and Chase with you having 15 points in the bank and Ridley. I'd give you like a
40, 35.
I'd say 45% chance to win. I'd say you're a slight underdog.
If this is half PPR, I'm more confident. If it's full PPR, like, you can pretty much pigeonhole ETN in for that like 13 to 15 point area, and then it's basically just Ridley versus Chase. Which, to be fair, I have Ridley and Chase separated by like 2 rankings. Yeah, I would say probably 45% is probably where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Opinions on the college football playoffs. Okay, let's try not to go too long on this one, but brief opinions. I think that both games will be good for starters. I think both games will be close games. I don't think either one's going to be like a massive blowout in either direction. I'm as a Texas fan, I'll speak on my game. I'm concerned that the wide receiver trio that Washington has is going to present big time problems for our secondary, which has been the weakest part of our entire team this year. Up front, I feel confident we're going to be able to stop the run and we can give Penix some problems or whatever. But if we let McMillan, Polk, and Odunze free in the secondary, it's going to be a long day and we're going to have to score a ton. And I don't really love when Quinn plays from behind. I think he's better at playing when games are close and when games are when they're leading. So I'm a little concerned about what our defense's matchup against Washington is, because I've seen, I mean, me and you are watching a little bit of the quarterback class because we're going to do an exclusive top 5 quarterback rankings video for Flock. And if you guys are curious and haven't taken the plunge to sign up on Flock, we're going to do like a way too early quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end rankings video on the site each week. So we're doing quarterbacks this week. We'll do running backs next week and so on and so forth. And watching the USC game, dude, every time Caleb Williams took a snap, he was down 7 more points every time he did. And USC's defense is worse than our defense, but that's just what the challenge that Washington presents to you is, that you don't want to get in a shootout against Washington because Penix is too good at just distributing the ball to those guys. And Quinn can do a lot on his own, and Worthy and Sanders and Mitchell and all these guys can perform. But I want them to play like a more controlled game environment and make sure that Penix isn't just running free and throwing the ball over the yard.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of Michigan versus Alabama, obviously my team go blue. I honestly think, again, you might want to cover yours. I think the winner of this game wins the national championship. The reason why I think that is that if Alabama wins, you have Nick Saban in a title game, potentially against the team that he lost to earlier in this year, or potentially against a Washington team that lacks the true firepower up front that I think Alabama represents. So if Bama makes it on, I think Bama's going to win it all. If Michigan wins it, then you would have beaten Nick Saban in a college football playoff setting. You would have finally gotten over your kryptonite of losing in the semifinal of the college football playoff, and you would probably be a 4 to 6 point favorite against whoever comes out of Washington versus Texas. So
who would you rather play in the final?
Probably you guys. I think we match up better, and I feel like if we
I disagree. I think you match up better with Washington.
The reason why I say that is I think if we can pressure Quinn early, I think we can get to him. Whereas I think with Penix, you're not really going to get on that passing attack. However, I do think that we have matchup advantages on both sides. Pressure when it comes to Quinn, and we're probably one of the few secondaries that could maybe not match up with Washington, but at least hold them at bay. Like Michigan's secondary is phenomenal, man. Obviously, you guys know Will Johnson. He's going to be a top 5 overall pick next year. Mike Sainristil is probably going to be a day 2 pick this year. Like, assuming Will Johnson's back healthy because he missed that game against Iowa, I think it's going to be a really intense game. Honestly, if you were to tell me any combination for the national championship and any combination of winner were to happen, I wouldn't be surprised. But I do think that the winner comes out of the 1v4 matchup personally.
Yeah, I think Texas matches up quite well with Michigan because we have, I think, the best run defense, maybe not named Michigan, who obviously can't defend Michigan's run, in the whole playoff. Like our run defense has been pretty strong this year, and Michigan, if you shut down the run, you can beat them. Like, because JJ hasn't proven quite yet that he can carry the offense. So I think that would bode well for Texas, but I do think, like you said, on our offense, it would be challenging to score a lot against Michigan. But you'd have to hope that the big key for that game would be the running backs in the passing game, like Keelan Robinson and Blue and all those guys out of the backfield, and Jatavian Sanders, because it would be tough for, I mean, I don't think Worthy would get behind your defense. I think that's something that you guys would plan for. And I think Adonai Mitchell would probably struggle against like physical corners. So it would be all up to the running backs and Jatavian Sanders, which I don't love if I'm Texas. I would want to put the ball in the hands of the big play.
And that's why, like, it still bothers me that we got Bama in the first round, because, like, Bama, like, I'm not even going to hide. Bama is the worst matchup for us by far. And Frank kind of mentions it here in terms of running quarterbacks. If Milroe gets going, man, we're going to have a tough time. And Milroe, for my money, is probably the best athlete maybe on the field. Like, that is how talented of an athlete he is. And you're talking about guys, like I said, Will Johnson, top 5 overall pick at corner. Mike Sainristil, another day 2 pick at corner. Obviously, you know, their own weapons on that Alabama offense, but it doesn't matter. Like if Milroe's rushing 100 yards for you and 2 rushing touchdowns, like you're probably going to win that game. And that's the thing I'm concerned about. Michigan's very good, tough man coverage team at limiting, the down to down basis. But what they've really struggled with this year is the explosive plays. When you've seen Michigan get beat, it's typically been from explosive plays. And I'm just scared Milroe's going to get running. I'd be
nervous. Curious. I think that whoever wins the national championship, whatever quarterback it is going to have a lot of hype for their draft stock, whether they're coming out this year or next year, because Quinn sounds like he might be going back to Texas. Milroe, I don't think would come out this year. McCarthy, if he comes out this year, Penix is obviously has to come out this year. I think whoever wins the national championship is going to have that buoy their draft stock and potentially make them a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But like you kind of mentioned, the thing that would worry me is we haven't seen JJ win that clean, 45, 50, 55 drop back game. And I think he's going to have to do that to beat Alabama. And obviously he's going to have to do that if he makes the national championship.
Yeah, and like I said earlier today, like that's what CJ Stroud had to do in the college football playoffs, and we hadn't seen him do that yet. And he showed obviously that he can do it, and he should have won that game. So, sure. IDub says, "Why does Elijah Moore only produce with Flacco at quarterback?" I don't know, dude. Honestly, I have no idea.
You're preaching to the choir, man. You're preaching to the choir.
Need 40 from Chase and Ridley. I think I'd give you like a 35% chance that happens, 40% chance that happens. I mean, we know that those guys can go for big games, but it's a little tough when you need 40 from 2 players in a game that doesn't project to be overly high scoring. I have Trevor Lawrence and Tanner Hudson. Oh, Bengals starting Tanner Hudson at tight end still.
Yeah.
He's not by the way, bad. Tanner Hudson was once like the Bucs like 4th tight end. So I don't know how he's like starting for the Bengals right now.
Hear me out. He's actually not been bad. And I'm curious. I forget where Tanner Hudson played last year. I was watching an old film and
he was always good for Tampa when he played for us. He was fine. It's just he only ever caught the ball when
Niners.
Yeah, like I remember for a while it was we had OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, and Anthony. What's his name? Duclair? No, not Anthony Duclair. That's a hockey player. No.
Yeah. Anthony Auclair.
What the fuck is his name?
Auclair.
He's French. He's Canadian.
Anthony Auclair. Anthony Auclair.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Anthony Auclair. Yeah. Those 3 were our starting tight ends. And then we had Tanner Hudson, who was like our undrafted free agent gem that we threw out there sometime. And then he's like made a nice career for himself, to be honest, out of a UDFA. So good for him.
If I remember correctly, Auclair played at Laval.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Classic, by the way.
But yeah, Trevor Lawrence to Tanner Hudson down 8 with him having Christian Kirk and half PPR. I think you got that. You got the quarterback advantage and half PPR. That definitely helps you out. Yep. You need 58 from Chase, ETN, and Aluakong. Yeah, good luck for that one. Aluakong is an IDP player, right?
Yeah, there you go. Boys up 22 with Chase left. He has a Lawrence and Cincy kicker. What's my chances this for the playoff spot? So you're up 22 with Chase left against Lawrence and the Cincy kicker. So let's assume for ease sake, Lawrence just gets the 22 because I would still prefer Chase over the kicker. I think you win.
Yeah, I think you win that as well. This is an interesting discussion point. Real quick. What did you say? I'm edging so hard right now. Jesus.
Sorry, I had to pull that up.
Bobcat says, I'm praying to the dynasty gods that Higgins goes to Kansas City. They need a true wide receiver, especially with Kelsey close to retiring. I actually don't think Kansas City is a very good schematic fit for T Higgins, to be honest. Agreed. I think if T Higgins, let's say we're going to play matchmaker with T Higgins right now. Where could he go that would be really, really good for his fantasy value? Yeah, Carolina was the first team that popped into my head as well.
Carolina,
because then you're the true alpha wide receiver one of a team. You get to be the guy, and you have a quarterback that we believe in Bryce Young's ability to take a step forward, especially if you had a guy like T Higgins. Suddenly, you knock everybody down a peg in that wide receiver core. T Higgins is your wide receiver 1. Mingo's your wide receiver 2. Maybe you draft a speedster or whatever to go along with, whoever else is going to be on your team. I think they should probably also sign another receiver potentially too, like a Hunter Renfrow or something like that to play the slot.
Funny enough, I think like if they wanted pure speed and they wanted Mingo to be their power slot, I actually don't hate Lad McConkey as the fit there.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I think getting like a pro ready, if it's a free agent addition to go along with T Higgins, like that would make some sense. Like I'm trying to think who else is a free agent that would make like Gabriel Davis actually wouldn't be a terrible option too, but you kind of want someone who can separate consistently.
Speaking of Gabe Davis, hear me out. I don't know what their financials are saying on this, but I'm just saying if T Higgins somehow found his way to Buffalo, I would.
Yeah, that would be a better fit than Kansas City for sure.
Man, could you just imagine T Higgins in the Gabe Davis role, but actually a consistent target earner?
Yeah, that would be crazy. I'm trying to think where else he could go that would be really good for his fantasy value. Like, who else is going to be in the market for a wide receiver this offseason?
I mean, in terms of
The
schematic,
Giants, I guess, potentially.
yeah,
That would be a
yeah,
big time, like, target earning type of role
yeah,
that he could get.
for sure. In terms of teams that are going to be in the market for a receiver, I doubt. Obviously, the Cowboys would look at him. I think the Cowboys would probably want that Brandon Cooks replacement. So if they're gonna go for a wide receiver, I honestly think the draft's gonna be for them. For
I
a
think, you
guy
know, who would
like
actually make a lot of
Xavier
sense for
Worthy.
them is Curtis Samuel.
I don't mind that. I was gonna say Xavier Worthy if you want to take him.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that'd
keep him in
be
Texas. I don't want to.
that'd be the nuts.
Please. I want to
Now,
cheer for Xavier Worthy in the NFL.
okay, but you can't tell me that Xavier Worthy on the Cowboys wouldn't be the nuts landing spot for him in the Cooks role.
I could
Young
see
Cooks?
it being a good landing spot for him. I actually think the nuts landing spot for Xavier Worthy would be Los Angeles with Justin Herbert.
That's true. I
mean, it's not like we have to worry about Quentin Johnston eating into his targets.
Fair. I actually think Rome would be a solid spot there too.
Yeah, Keenan Allen replacement makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, I doubt that you're gonna have Keenan Allen past maybe even next year. So I think that would be an ideal replacement. Like I mentioned, I like Rome if T does.
Realistically, the best landing spot for T Higgins is Cincinnati. Probably.
Yes.
Like, I don't think there's a better situation he can go to be honest.
For sure.
Maybe from like a target standpoint, he'd be better off in Carolina. He'd have like a higher ceiling from that perspective, but I actually think he'd be better fantasy wise for just in Cincinnati, unless Bryce just obviously like really turned the corner.
Hear me out, bro. Right?
Tennessee also wouldn't be a terrible option too. Went to Tennessee and was Will Levis's number one.
Hear me out, bro. I don't know how likely it is to actually happen, but if the Chargers or the Bengals keep stinking the joint and somehow get their hands on Malik Neighbors.
That would be fun. That'd be very fun. So we'll get the whole LSU wide receiver core to Cincinnati.
Hey, man, we need it. Need Mixon and Trevor to combine for less than 25 and I'm in the playoffs.
Hey, Mixon combining for less than whatever you need is a good bet to make typically.
Yeah, typically. Like when Mixon gives you his 6.9 and Trevor has an off day, you could have a chance.
Yeah. Is JSN back? I'm more encouraged with JSN for sure. Yeah. When I talked to Harmon 3 weeks ago about JSN, I feel better about him now than I did then, which is, again, this is why we wait till the end of their rookie seasons to make full determinations on these players. But at the same time, like, the earlier you can get in on a guy potentially being a bust or something like that, the better, right? Like, you want to, if JSN was terrible for the rest of the year after we had that conversation, we would have been the first one saying, hey, JSN might not be that good. Because everybody told me that JSN is still like, I saw somebody say that he's still like the wide receiver one from this class in Dynasty. And I'm like, it's more understandable now, I suppose. But like, is he still higher than any of the, like, would you still rank him wide receiver like 4 or 5 from this class right now? Because I still would.
JSN? Yeah. I mean, I actually adjusted him. I was touching my Dynasty rankings. I actually adjusted them up a little bit. So for reference, again, these are all going to be posted within the next couple of days. But JSN, I have back at wide receiver 20. Or 19, sorry. And I think you can make a case right now with Tank Dell out for the season that you would prefer JSN, though I would still have Dell one spot higher from how I have him ranked right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm still taking Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and Puka Nacua over him for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Puka, I raised him a couple spots. He's out 13. Just because I think at this point, given the production he's given you, you kind of have to rank him, in my opinion, over Drake London. So that's the only real adjustment that I made.
Yeah, need 2 points from Chase. God, if you don't get that, I'd be sad. Full PPR pick 2, Brees, Warren, Deontay, and London. I mean, if this is for next week, you're going to have to give us some more time. I don't even know who the fuck these guys are playing. But as of now, I would say probably Brees and London. I don't know. I have no fucking clue who these guys are playing right now.
Yeah. I can't even think off my head. Yeah, we'll know. I think the Jets play the Texans, right?
Something like that.
I want to say Stroud has
bothered to look ahead till the matchups until like Wednesday of any given week. Should I trade Kelsey before my deadline? I have McBride, and this Chiefs offense has been under. He says redraft as well. I mean, depends what you can get for Kelsey. Like, if you can get Tony Pollard plus for Kelsey, would you trade him?
Yes, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that would be enough for you to move off of him.
I'm legit worried about this Chiefs offense.
Okay, what about at wide receiver? What type of wide receiver would you be looking for Travis Kelsey?
I mean, I think you mentioned like the Pollard range at running back. Maybe somebody gives you DJ Moore plus for Kelsey. I wouldn't hate that. But typically, if you can get like
Chase.
Yeah, can you
Adams.
get Adams, Keenan, Brandon Ayuk? I have higher. Mike
Puka.
Evans, I have higher. Puka's right on the edge for me. Puka, I'm actually struggling how to rank these guys, so I want to actually get your opinion because I was looking through my rest of seasons today, like I mentioned. So, how would you rank these 5 or 6 wide receiver? Honestly, even 7 wide receivers moving forward. DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Puka, Devontae, Smith, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel.
Okay, so I have Pittman at 15. I have DJ Moore at 14. I have Puka at 12. I don't know if you said Ridley in there, but I have Ridley at 13.
I have
Chris
Ridley way
Olave I have
lower.
at 17. I moved Nico Collins up to 18 because of the Tank Dell injury.
Yeah.
And then Devontae Smith I have at 20. Deebo Samuel I have slightly behind the rest of this group. But I'm probably going to move him up a little bit given the performance that we like. I mean, I should have known that Deebo Samuel had that in the tank. Like we all kind of know he can do that. But at the same time, like the inconsistencies with Deebo have really shown themselves. Like he's going to have a game or two in a row where he's just like not heavily involved and doesn't get a lot of high value touches. The question is like, would you rather have Deebo Samuel or Garrett Wilson, who's like a consistently always involved in his offense type of wide receiver? I think as of right now, I still slightly prefer Garrett Wilson.
I have Garrett Wilson at 24. I'm worried about the quarterback position there, and I
think Zach's going to probably go back to starting, to be honest.
I would take DK over Garrett Wilson the rest of the season. I think you have to.
Yeah.
I think I would take DK. I would take Zay. I would take Cup still. Ridley, I have a 20, so I have him a little bit lower than you do. I just kind of want to see it 13, at least this week.
You're too low on Ridley.
I think you're a little bit too high personally because I still think
he's had like 2 fucking 20-point games in a row.
Fair, but I mean, like I can't take him over Pittman.
Pittman's been so good all year. Underdog put out a video of I can't remember who was breaking it down, but somebody was breaking down how he's being used, and it's different than what it was early in the season.
No, for sure. And again, I have him at 20 right now. If he goes out again and has another consistent game, I have no problem moving him probably to 15 area. Like I think you can make the case you take him over Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Deebo Samuel at that spot. But right now, I just feel it's safer, given what we've seen throughout the season, to where I have.
I think what I've seen from him and Trevor Lawrence in the last couple games is enough to make me get excited that they're going to turn it on down the stretch. Fair. And I mean, like when we're talking like bona fide number ones, like Ridley, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, whatever, like I'm going to take the guy who is the best quarterback.
Yeah, no, that's fair. DJ Moore and Pittman, to me, though, given how consistent they've been this year when they've had their quarterbacks respectively. I mean, even in Pittman's state, he hasn't even had his quarterback, and he's still been like 10, 11, 12 targets per game. Like it's actually insane how involved he is in that offense.
Oh yeah, he's been getting fed. Anyways, the game is probably on, so we'll answer a couple more here. We got should I accept getting Hollywood for giving up Deontay? Yeah, I would prefer Hollywood to Deontay Johnson the rest of the season, but I'd want to really do some research into what Hollywood's injury is and how bad it's going to be before I make this trade.
For sure. By the way, real quick, funny note on Michael Pittman. He has 127 targets in 12 games.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, he's been getting peppered for sure. He also offered to give up Montgomery to get Jordan Addison. My running backs are CMC, Montgomery, A-Chain, Elijah Mitchell. You're a little weak at running back if you trade away Montgomery. I think I would probably hold.
Yeah, I would agree there.
For Addison, especially with Jefferson's coming back. Trade A-Chain for Swift. I would rather have A-Chain.
All day.
How many points do you think Kirk and ETN will score tonight, PPR? I'd set the projection at like 14 for Kirk and 19 for ETN.
I was going to say probably around 30 to 35 combined would be the projection in PPR.
Yeah. Up by 11. I've Ridley. Opponent has no one left. How we looking? Yeah. I mean, you're probably fine if nobody on the other team. Hope we see a decent T Higgins game. Hopefully. Me too, dude. I really hope I'm able to actually start this guy next week because I traded a couple weeks ago. You guys might recall I did trade for Calvin Ridley. I traded away Garrett Wilson and DK Metcalf, who just had a monster fucking game, for T Higgins and Calvin Ridley. And so far, that trade's aged poorly because T Higgins fucking blew his hamstring in practice like 3 days after I made that trade. And Joe Burrow got hurt the week I made that trade. So the T Higgins side of that trade is not aged very well. But Calvin Ridley has obviously been really good since I traded for him.
Dude, I got to ask you, wait. So I didn't even realize you had DK on your team, eh?
I did have DK at one point. I don't anymore.
Fair enough. No, I just find that funny because I know you must have gotten the value of all values if you had him because I know how much you don't like him.
Yeah, no, the
What was the
trade I got
trade?
DK
Get 'em.
Metcalf in was when I traded Stephon Diggs, Tajay Spears, and Ramondre Stevenson for Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf, and Christian Kirk.
Got you. Okay, that makes
And
more
then
sense.
a couple weeks later, I traded Christian Kirk and Achane because I was fucked and I wasn't going to get to use Achane when he came back. I traded those two guys for Kenneth Walker. Who was the other guy that I got in that trade? Kenneth Walker, Josh Palmer, and somebody else. And then I traded Kenneth Walker and Josh Palmer for Tony Pollard and Drake London.
Fair enough.
So I ended up netting basically, it was Christian Kirk and Devon Achane for Tony Pollard and Drake London, essentially.
Speaking of home leagues, by the way, real quick, the 2-10 team dropped 170 points on me this week. So that wasn't fun.
That's funny. Start 3 going forward. Kyron, Pollard, Gibbs, Achane, also Lamar. I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you how to set your lineup for the next 4 games in a row. Like, it could definitely vary, but I would say Achane's got to be in my lineup. The way he's performing and the way he's getting touches, I would say it's probably like, who are you benching here, bro?
That's what
like,
I'm
I don't
saying,
bench any
dude.
of these guys.
How the fuck do you have this
Kyron's
problem?
Probably
Cruz?
the guy I bench, but I don't want to bench him.
I moved Kyron up my rest of seasons. Where do you think
I personally would start Pollard. Given Pollard's schedule, I would start Pollard for sure. And Gibbs has my lineup, so I would be hard pressed not to sit Kyron there. And then Lamar is the guy that you're rolling with at quarterback.
Where do you have Kyron ranked rest of season? I can tell you
like
it's
11 or 12, I think.
Oh yeah, you're too low, bro. That's workload, man. Like, he's my number 1 here. He's your
number 1 here.
I have him 3rd at running back rest of season, dude.
You have him as the RB3 rest of season. You're fucking psychotic.
His workload is untouchable.
I know it's elite. Okay, so he actually would go ahead of. Obviously, I haven't adjusted these since Jonathan Taylor's injury. I have him at 7 now.
All right, that's respectable. But even
the
still,
the thing is, everyone in this question is higher than him.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like the lowest one I actually have is Pollard, and he's RB6. Because I have Gibbs at 3 or 4, Achane at 5, Pollard at 6.
I have Achane at 4, Gibbs at 5, Pollard at 7. Sorry, Kyron is 8, not 7.
Sorry, I have Pollard at 8 too, for the record. I moved Rachaad White and ETN over him. Rachaad White, I moved up to 11 or 7. I gotta give him his credit, man. Like, he's fucking.
Yeah, he's been real. I'm not gonna move him up quite that high, but
I shit on that guy for so long.
What the fuck to do with Austin Eckler? No idea.
He's buried. I'm at 12. That might even be too high.
This is crazy. This is where we're at with Austin Eckler at this point in time.
Like, realistically, give me a good reason why. Like, I for the record, I have Eckler at 12 and Moss at 16. But if somebody wanted to say that Moss would be ranked higher than Eckler rest of the season, I don't think that's outlandish at all.
Moss over Eckler?
Zach Moss.
That's fucking disgusting.
I think you can get
saying
there.
That. Imagine hearing yourself say that in August. That Zach Moss would be ranked over Austin Eckler. It's disgusting. Anyways, T to Jacksonville, that would be pretty fun as well. If Ridley left, I think that would be awesome. Someone drop Sutton, pick up. Yeah, I think he's a good pickup for sure.
Hey, Bush.
Achane or Young in a second. I want Achane over Bryce in a second, probably.
I mean, the argument for Moss, I might actually fucking have to move him up, because the argument for Moss is that you're getting the better player on the better offense.
Yeah, that's disgusting. But anyways, the game is on, so we're going to sign off here. Thank you guys for joining us. Obviously, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But yeah, enjoy the game. Hopefully you guys get what you need. Hopefully your opponents don't score points and you score points. Take it easy.
Take it easy.